Wow, I heard that click of the pen. And with the click of the pen, we're ready and we're going. And it is February 5th, 2026. And we're bringing our live show to you here on Talking Niagara. And welcome in the morning. Welcome all. All right. So, regional councillor.
Welcome to Talking Niagara.
Yep. Exactly. Welcome to Talking Niagara. So, Regional Councillor Bateman is in trouble because of her social media video about Charlie Kirk.
Well, what a nitwit. I like first talk about did you guys, hello everyone. I like to just kind of, I hope we could talk about the State of the Union address a little bit on this show.
Oh, we can do that.
Did you see it?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, let's get back to Bateman first, and then we'll go back to that. Anyway, yeah, Bateman. Now this is kind of old news, but I put it up there anyway because, like Bateman, what is it with people who can't control themselves?
Well, it's really, not so much about people.
Why did everybody get so emotional? Okay.
It's not so much about people can't control themselves. See, you and I can say what we want about Charlie Kirk, and we have a private right, right to as a private citizen. But Councillor Bateman also has a duty to the region that she has to consider when making such protestations.
Well, that's my whole point. She can't control herself. She's a public figure, and she blurts out regurgitates a lot of rubbish about Peter.
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you still there?
Yeah,
Peter,
I'm still here.
Are you there?
It's just gone flaky. Okay. It's gone flaky. That's all. Yeah, she spurts out a load of rubbish about it. Yes, I know.
I like Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, I don't see why Charlie Kirk was such a divisive presence here in Niagara. Charlie Kirk was who Charlie Kirk was, and he did what he did, and this kind of emotional outburst by a regional councillor about Charlie Kirk, what does it have anything to do with the Niagara region? Why do you have to get involved like that and get so emotional about it and put it on social media and all that? I think it was really, for one thing, it was not a considered opinion and that she used, and number two, it was a lashing out and an emotional outburst, and number three, there was a man that died. There was a man that died. He was he was assassinated. Father was removed from his wife and family. I think it's bottom line, it's something like that. You have had a person who is not a criminal, who is not a bad person at all. You might disagree with him in many ways, but he died. He tragically was murdered. And I think you pretty well should leave it at that. If you want to discuss his opinions or whatever he stood for, otherwise, you could do that at a different time and place. But the number one thing you should recognize is that a man was murdered and had cruelly and removed from his wife and family, and for no real good reason. This guy was not Adolf Hitler. He wasn't Joseph Stalin. He wasn't El Mancho. He was not a bad person. He had distinct religious views, and why people just can't leave it at that, I don't understand.
Yeah. Basically, the Integrity Commission said Councillor Bateman breached the standards of conduct for elected officials, and particularly relating to how councillors use social media and the line between personal expression and public responsibility. And public trust in council governance was impacted by this. So that's what the commissioner has said.
Yeah, I think she should just learn a very tough lesson from this, and learn emotional outbursts and getting involved in the forever good guy bad guy debates that are going on out there, the kind of rage and counter rage that is stimulated by social media. Just step back from that, really, and see things for what they are. In this particular case, I'm a father and a husband was murdered, and that's probably it. This is as far as you have to go with that one.
Yeah. And whether you like his politics or not, for us here in Canada, is immaterial.
It had a lot of effect here up here in Canada because his views were overlapped the border quite a bit. Well, we have friends that regularly watch the show. So yeah, so that a lot of things in the States overlap up here, like a lot of the political movements, both left and right, and all that overlap on either side of the border. So yeah, so he may have had influence on people in Canada, but so does Jimmy Swaggart, and you know what I mean, and so does Rob, anybody, so that's not a big thing. I think. I don't know. In my opinion, I think that Ms. Bateman, I hope she's learned a valuable lesson there. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, and that was a big one on her part.
Yeah. Okay, so Nancy, welcome. Nancy, welcome Betty, Mike, and Rick Pizzicala. Yeah, welcome this morning. I've seen your comments. Good morning from Cleveland. It's warm up. It's to warm up on Saturday. Yeah, well, I don't know. We're thinking it may actually freeze up here further during the week. We had more snow last night, so be careful on the roads, everybody. Okay.
Yeah, the roads are kind of slushy, and anyway, the main thing here is I think as far as Bateman's concerned, I think she probably has learned a valuable lesson. I think everyone should be able to take a lesson from that, because the rage and counter rage that's going on out there, the good guy, bad guy narrative in just about everything, is kind of ridiculous. And I'm waiting for everybody to have considered objective opinions again, rather than fall into the yelling thing. Good guy, bad guy. If you're not with me, you're against me. That must mean you're evil.
Yeah.
And so I think getting into spats like that wasn't really too smart, but she's probably learned a valuable lesson. And
all right. One thing that is clear from that just conversation a little while ago is the roads are bad out there, and snowplows operating on all the major roads, 405, QEW, 406, and all of the major roads off the highways. All right. It's the latest from the Ontario 511. Okay. So Niagara politician. Oh, go on about State of Union. Talk about State of Union.
Yeah, I think that our listeners would like to have a bit of a spiel about the State of the Union. I watched the State of the Union last night, and I'm very glad that I listened to NPR prior to that. I was driving around, I was listening to NPR, and NPR has changed. It's very much more open to objectivity now. There was a time there where NPR and PBS were more like social justice warriors. Their news had come down to the point where they were judging right or wrong and that kind of thing. That's not their purview. Their purview is supposed to spell out the news. And yesterday I listened to a conservative on NPR, a sort of a Republican voice, and I listened to his views on what the president has done, the goods, the bads, and this was like a kind of obviously he was on the president's side, but not like the president is God. You know, the president is the best thing since sliced bread type of view. He put on, he talked about what he thought were the positive outcomes of what Trump's done so far in the economy and in other aspects of, you know, geopolitics and stuff. So it was a sober opinion. It wasn't we are the greatest of the world. It was a sober opinion that leaned heavily towards Republicans and how he felt that some of the positive aspects of Trump's administration. Now, of course, in the regular news, we just get it's totally bad or it's totally good. If you listen to Fox, it's totally good. Donald J. Trump is next to Jesus, and if you listen to the CNN, he's a corrupt and vicious, mental, rabid dog. And so you kind of get sick of this stuff. And so when I was listening to NPR, and it was a very considered opinion, this time from the right, and I've heard, of course, the considered opinions from the left, and it's hard to find these sort of objective ideas coming from either side, like calm, rational. You could agree or disagree with them, but they were calm, rational. You know, he was a conservative, a Republican, but did not regard Trump as the second coming of Christ, which most maggots seems to do. And then on the left, there also you'll find rational, calm, objective criticisms of it. So I was kind of relieved to hear that kind of thing. So that gave me a better view to look at what Trump said during his speech. I thought he didn't do too bad for his base. Now, let me put that carefully. For his base, he did kind of indicate that the Democrats were evil and were working against the democracy of the United States and were hell bent in destroying it for whatever reason. Who knows? Of course, that was ridiculous, but he didn't go on and on about that so much. He did deride the Supreme Court. He did snub them when he was walking past the Supreme Court. He talked to a couple of the justices and others. He just walked by and snubbed them completely, which was rather immature and childish. But you know, he didn't overdo it. He didn't overdo. They're the bad guys. He did sort of try to indicate that Democrats were hell bent on destroying the United States for whatever reason. I don't know. But he didn't overdo it, and that's what I kind of like. He did point out a lot of positive things in the States, the hockey team, of course, the certain heroes, certain military or civil heroes that went around doing what they did. So that was a positive thing. So for his base, he's done very, very well for his base. It probably gave MAGA a leg up for a little while. I don't know how long that will last. I think we'll probably, with the bottom part of his base, the more humble people in his base, I don't think they're going to be too satisfied for too long, because the prices that they have to deal with, although overall the economy is doing, he says the economy is doing better, it's the greatest and all that. It's doing okay. It hasn't done much better than it did under Biden or other predecessors. It's a pretty good, solid economy. A lot of the stock market he's talking about hit 50%, but that was all mostly AI driven. So there's lots of definitions that have to be pointed out here. And generally speaking, though, I think he gave his base a boost, and I'm not so sure how long that's going to last, because no matter how many times he says that gas prices are down and egg prices are down and all that, when the average person goes to the grocery store,
they know different. They
know different. They're talking. They don't talk about the economy is doing well, but it's the K-style economy, what they call it, K-style economy. So you've got 20% of the Americans, the top 20%, doing 60% of the spending, and the bottom 50% of Americans are feeling the pinch and spending less and less. They have less and less available income. So what you have is this, what they call a K-style economy. Looks like a K. So those people who are fairly wealthy are
good ones going up, bad ones going down.
Yeah, and those people who are in the poor section are going down. So Trump's going to have to rely on those people who have who are in the poorer section of the United States to vote for him, and they're not going to be too happy going forward. You know, he did say stupid stuff like that the tariffs are being paid for by foreign countries, but he didn't say that exactly. So I mean, people could jump on him and say, "Well, he said that foreign countries are paying the tariffs." He didn't say that exactly. He said that he hoped that the tariffs will replace income, like it's done in the past for some reason. The tariffs paid by foreign countries will replace income tax. He didn't say that was happening now. He said in the future, he hoped that tariffs paid by foreign countries will replace income tax. But that's not what's happening now.
That's what he announced
tariffs are being paid by the American people.
Yeah, that's what he announced in the original, in his campaign. You know, when he first introduced the tariff idea.
Well, he says the tariffs were, they're going to save America, but none of his, not once has he ever said that the American people are paying the tariffs. He's saying that he's charging the other countries tariffs, and it sounds as if the other countries are paying for it. They aren't, and unfortunately, people keep thinking that the tariffs are being paid by another country. The reason why other countries don't like the tariffs is because less of their stuff is purchased, the higher the tariff is. But aside from that, and that's because people have less money to buy it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We've got 3 more comments. Okay. Alicia, Paul Lemire had Regis on his show yesterday and talked about potential amalgamation. It was interesting. Yep. We'll talk to that in a minute. Dozen eggs, stack of butter, and gallon of milk, $26. Yeah. Okay. Shame. Soon we will eat? Question mark. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So moving on to the amalgamation. So Niagara politicians are currently debating this question about amalgamation. Bob Gale, since Bob Gale was appointed regional chair, what he's been doing is been on the lookout for savings. And one of the questions that has been brought up, which 4 years ago was raised by, actually more than 4 years ago, was raised by Conservative leader Doug Ford, is about the amalgamations of the Niagara region. One of the questions, though, that needs to be considered, whether they're going to a 4-city model from the current 12 municipalities to a 4-city model. The idea being that you will cut down on the salaries associated with regional democracy. So we will not have 12 mayors. We will have 4 mayors. We will have, so 4 mayors, or maybe just one regional council chair, right? So those sort of things have to be considered and put on the table, is what Gail is saying. And I get it, because Bob Gale is looking for savings, and this is one of the areas that his political party, the Conservatives, have been stating for years would bring savings.
Yes. of course, like the biggest rub that Bob Gale has got, or resistance that Bob Gale's got, is how fast he's done this. He's come up and he's asked the mayors to come up with suggestions in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So certain political figures, including the MPPs, kind of a balking at that. Hey, wait a minute, that's way too fast. How do you expect us to have these ideas? But let's be frank about this. This has been going on for a very long time. If they don't have ideas about this at this particular point, where have you been living?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you been living under a stone? Because this has been ongoing talk for some time now, and a lot of it got slowed down by COVID, and a lot of it got put back on the back burner for a time. But here's Bob Gale. He comes in and he says, okay, let's get going on this. Let's start making a move.
Actually, I said 4 years. It was 8 years that we've been talking about this. Been going back since 2018. Yeah.
Actually, so he basically, enough of the blab. Let's get on with it. Enough of the speculations. So, in a sense, I've got respect for Bob. He's gone right to the core. Let's get something done. Let's not dilly dally. Let's get at it. Yeah. So I got to give him respect on that point of view. On the other, one of the questions: is it too quick? Has he given them enough time? Should he have given them a month? But he gave them 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's actually one of the questions that really is irksome in relation to local politics. Often we talk about time, and it's like sometimes we talk about quick decision making is anti-democratic, but then again, Bob Gale is also aware that sometimes when you make a decision now and you save money you can save money in the longer term, and I think that's what he's thinking about with this one. Now, it occurs to me that I have to actually compare this. Do I support the 4-city model, the 1-city model? Been doing some thinking about this, and I've been thinking about over time. I had supported the 4-city model rather than the 1-city model, but I'm also bothered by what happens when you lose local individuality. What happens, for example, so when small villages go, so we're talking about the individuality of small villages that no longer have a voice on council, and somebody puts sweeping changes into there, and then the local people say, well, what the heck are you putting this 25-story apartment building in our neck of the woods for?
So what you're saying is they're gonna the smaller communities are just gonna get washed out, and the people that live in them will have no say so as to what's going on.
That is a danger.
So now Port Colborne, they have resisted. Say, look, we're a strong, independent, autonomous city, and we don't want to be buried under this massive region. We're independent. We're good. Is then the option for cities to withdraw from the Niagara region altogether and not include themselves in the Niagara region, cut ties with the Niagara region, and govern themselves.
Well, I think
supposedly get their own resources or pay for those some other way. That's another option that nobody really talks about. But generally speaking, at least the big mayors, Welland, Niagara Falls, they see the advantage of this kind of amalgamation because we're overgoverned, and the duplicity of resources, the duplicity of governance, really isn't that beneficial. If you've got 126 politicians running Niagara region, and you've got 124 running the whole province of Ontario, what's wrong with this picture?
Yeah. Yes and no. Now, it occurs to me that I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about, well, what do other countries do? And I only know really about what Britain does in this regard. And hey, with 500,000 people in the square miles that we've got, there's probably many English counties that are fairly similar to us that don't have any big cities within them. They're just a small county with 500,000 people in them, in three or four area, 3 or 4 distinct areas. Let's call them towns, because in fact, in the British model of doing things, Niagara Falls and St. Catharines at 100 and 150,000 apiece are not cities. They're not influential as cities. They are sizable townships, but that is it. So what would happen in Britain if if the Niagara region was a county in Britain? They would just have a single municipality that would govern the whole of Niagara. But of course,
Is that even applicable in this particular case? Is it applicable here? Is it even applicable here?
I don't know. Well, the difference between there and here is the politicians are not paid per se, right? They don't have a job working for the city. They get an expense for coming to city council.
Isn't that is pretty much what we do though? Like that's the city councilors. That's not their, aside from the mayor, the city councilors don't get a wage that could sustain them.
Well, they get a part-time for many people. You see, I know that, for example, Laurie Lococo does a lot of work on city council, and her day, for going to the council meeting starts several days beforehand.
Well, how does that reflect in her pay? You said that the councilors in England get an expense. How is that different from what the councilors here get?
Well, basically what will happen is, for example, the expense of coming to a council meeting might well be $50. They don't get paid for their time. They don't get paid for coming to the council meeting.
Well, do our councilors get paid for coming to the council meeting?
Yeah, because they are paid basically about 25.
But the English ones are getting money. Right, they're getting money. They may call it something different, but they're getting money to be counselors. Our people are getting money to be counselors, and the money that our counselors are getting, the average counselors, aside from the mayor, is not enough to sustain an income. It's just a paid to be there kind of thing.
Well,
so it's kind of like a part-time job pay. So I don't really see much of a difference in how that affects us. So here we are coming back to Niagara. Are we going to go, like, the biggest problem, of course, which we see here is, are the smaller communities going to get washed up? Are they going to be dominated by the bigger ones? Is something like Fort Erie and Port Colborne going to be dominated by the larger urban areas?
Not just
are they going to lose their independence and autonomy?
Yeah, it's not just whether Port Colborne are going to lose their independence and autonomy. It's places like Chippewa, places like Stevensville.
Chippewa is part of Niagara Falls.
I know it is. I know, but I'm saying it's always maintains its own independence, even within Niagara Falls. There are always people talking.
So how is that going to change? How is that going to change?
No, but again, smaller townships like that.
You're thinking think of something like, say, let's say West Lincoln,
I said Stevensville,
or Font Hill, or something like that. Yeah,
I said Stevensville.
The whole idea though is, the city itself, is it going to be overwhelmed? Are the people of Fort Erie or West Lincoln or Port Colborne, are they going to lose parts of their autonomy?
Yes, they will if we go to a single city model. But is that a bad thing?
Well, that's how do you preserve the identity of a city or town that are proud of it and still be part of this amalgamation.
Yeah.
So the amalgamation is not a bad idea. It's dollars and cents, pretty much just dollars and cents. one of the objections to Gale was that he wasn't elected to be in that position, and he should kind of back off a bit. But he was an elected representative that was moved into that position, right? He was moved into that position, and he didn't waste much time. So you have to say to yourself, that here's a guy that was appointed this position to take over Bradley, and immediately started work. He started getting down to the brass tacks, right down to the things that may save us money. Now, the biggest issues going forward, every time a budget comes up, this budget's too much. This budget's too much, whether it's Niagara Falls, whether it's the Niagara region, whatever. And Bob Gale found $3 million potential that we could save in the short term. And then he's got right on to what was going to save us more money going forward. And that is making things more efficient. Now, what we have to decide is, how do we do that? Do we go to one city? Do we go to 4 cities? So we're looking for advice from the mayors in and around. And what we have found immediately upon reading all this is that some of the mayors are worried about being sort of obscured by their independence and their autonomy and their identity becoming obscured by the larger municipal cities, like if we went to 4 cities. On the plus side, there is a lot of duplication of services that need not happen. And we have over governance, so we can streamline our governance. So those are the things that I see, and those are the things that have to be decided. But I'm kind of glad that someone has just stepped forward and said, like Bob Gale said, well, let's get on with it. We've talked about it for 8 years, so let's get on with it. Let's discuss it.
Been on the agenda for 8 years now.
Yeah, so let's get on with it.
Yeah.
You know, and Karen says, they say there's savings, but staff has proved otherwise more than once. I'd like to know where Karen, like, I don't know. I can't say if they have or haven't, but I'd like to know where Karen gets that, where she said that staff has proved that amalgamation will not save us money.
Well,
I like he doesn't have any proof about the savings. Okay. I think though, but did you watch his presentation? I definitely think we have too many counselors.
Yeah.
Okay, there's too many counselors is the one thing. That will save us a little bit of money by reducing the amount of money we pay counselors.
Also, we've got 45 people active in those regional council meetings. 45 people, many of which his comments are, as soon as you get to a sort of comment merry-go-round that you get in that council. First of all, I'm saying the mayor shouldn't be having a say. The mayor should be there for one reason and one reason only, which is, I have a question in relation to Niagara Falls. Mr. Diodati, what is, and, ask the question, right? So that's the only reason that Diodati should be there, not to actually spout his own views upon city council, upon the municipal council. He's there.
Well, that's not the view of the province. That's not the view of the region either. That's your particular view.
That's my view on that. We waste a lot of time, whether it be city council or regional municipality, with that merry-go-round of comments relating to a particular issue, when most people have already decided what they're going to vote, way they're going to vote.
Well, that's your opinion, and maybe that's part of what will be resolved by amalgamation. Now, Karen said he hasn't proved that amalgamation will save money. They do cite the fact that there's too much duplication of service. So they can assume savings in that regard. But Niagara Regional councilors are paid $45,000. So that's a hefty hunk. of money. That I don't know how much Niagara councilors are paid, something 20-something thousand, aren't they?
27, 28.
27,000, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not a way. The $45,000 for a regional councilor, that could be, if you can reduce the amount of councilors. I think if you can take the different governing bodies in the Niagara region, we have 126 councilors that are being paid, so you could reduce that quite a bit, I guess.
Yeah.
We have three councilors to answer questions. So I don't know. Karen believes that the proof of amalgamation saving us money is yet to be demonstrated. I don't know what anyone else opinion has, but it seems to me that if you streamline services and you reduce the amount of councilors, you reduce the amount of duplication of services, you would likely save money. But that has to be demonstrated, just like Karen says. Now, Karen also says that Bob Gale said he was asked to bring in amalgamation. I would love to know whose tune he is dancing to. Well, obviously Ford. He's the one that pushed for some sort of efficiency and governance down this way, and he's done it not just here, but all over the Ontario. He's trying to streamline municipal governance. But Bob himself would have been very well known about this because being a councilor himself, and probably finds it very frustrating to have duplication of services and so on.
He weighed in very much when this whole thing was put up in the first place in 2018, 2019. He weighed in heavily upon change, talking. I remember his conversation talking about the need to save money. He's been consistent and persistent about need for the regional council to save money, and I get where he's coming from. It's the savings that he's aiming for, and has been for a long time. Yeah.
So now he's a conservative. He was obviously he's going to have ideological similarities to Doug Ford. But in the long run, in municipal politics, how important is that really? You can have different political ideologies on your council. When it comes to saving money, there's not too much difference between one and the other. When it comes to looking at budgets, are we paying water efficiency enough? Our sewers have to be fixed. There's not much difference. You cannot put an ideological spin on sewers and water. It has to be, your people need it no matter what. So you have to provide it, and you have that kind of thing. So so the ideology, Bob Gale's political ideology, being a conservative, I think it has factors less into this than you might want to put. But let's face it, the conservative government is the one that is trying to,
at the end of the day,
trying to reduce the amount of governance, and thereby sort of making the municipal governments more efficient.
Well, at the end of the day, Bob Gale is undoubtedly a conservative. We know that. He's run on that ticket. But again, when it comes down to municipal politics, there are things that conservatives might at a regional level or at a national level oppose. But when it comes down to, regional politics or municipal politics, they vote in favor of.
Well, that's what I was saying, because there's only so much. You cannot put ideological spin on water or sewer or roads or
you've got to deal
paving or pushing snow off the roads. It is basic practical stuff.
Yeah.
Now, when you get into stuff like homeless people and stuff like that, you may find a difference between those who have a more, let's say, an NDP point of view over a conservative point of view. But at the bottom line, even then, both are worried about what's happening to the homeless or whatever. So there's not a lot of ideological overlay here. The problem that I see here is that Bob Gale will be overly might be overly papered over with the same brush as Doug Ford. But let's put it this way: Doug Ford kind of left it to us to do this, to get it done. I don't know. Like Karen says, she has doubts. She has doubts that the amalgamation will actually save us money. And there are the smaller communities within the Niagara. There's 13 communities within the Niagara region, each one worried about their identity going forward and how much say they will have in regional politics. If you're a small community, how much sway will you have in the governance of the region? Will your rural farm type of area be overrun by industrial or other issues, and you'll get ignored?
And will they put a tower block in Smithville or something like that?
I think they're worried like their areas will get ignored. They will be second place because the big money areas, the big consumer and money making areas of the region will get dominance, and those on the smaller areas will be ignored. That's a possibility, but this is just in its infancy. I don't really see. I have to be convinced, like Karen. Is it going to save us money? Is it really going to save us money? Karen says she isn't convinced, and I'll need some convincing too.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's exactly where I sit. I probably, on balance now, with thinking about it, I'm probably going for the single municipality model. But I do also want to say that if we do that model, we, the people, select who is the regional chair, not the premier of Ontario.
I don't know who's gonna like. Normally, the councilors themselves had voted for the chairman, right? So I would like to see that happen again, but I don't know. I seriously don't know. But anyway, I think we should leave this. We flogged it to death.
We have. I mean, just putting the final touches on that. Okay. Moving on. Stocks drop after Trump ramps up on new tariffs, and also investors are concerned about companies that are pushing artificial intelligence.
Yeah, there's a couple of issues here. When Trump put on the 15% tariffs, global tariffs, when his IEEPA tariffs were struck down by Supreme Court, I'm not so sure. They said he got into a rage and he's bumping his chest and fighting back and all this. I don't think so. I think they very well knew that this was going to get turned down and were prepared for it. And they've said all along that they're prepared for Supreme Court turning the IEEPA tariffs down. And even among conservatives, they didn't like the IEEPA tariffs.
The NASDAQ, the Dow went down 1.7%. The NASDAQ went down, the S&P 500 went down 1%. And I think the NASDAQ went down about the same.
Now, when the tariffs were taken off, the stock market did a little bit of a rally. It went up. So when the IEEPA tariffs were struck down by the Supreme Court, the stock market did not go crazy, but it went up. It went up significantly. When Trump introduced the 15% worldwide tariffs, they went down. But I don't think anything can be determined by this just yet. It has to take a while to see how the markets will respond overall. Now, the other, over the long period of time, So I think everybody's just kind of wait and see. Basically, I don't think the markets will do much of anything right now. The thing of issue here, of course, is gold and silver, particularly gold, is at record highs, and that's because gold is thought to be the safe harbor for investors' money, whereas it used to be U.S. securities. U.S. securities are not thought to be the safe harbor for money now. It's gold, and that's significant. And the U.S. dollar has gone down in value, which is also significant, but not catastrophic. And so I think it will take time. But the other thing in the article is the stocks that are being hit by AI. So there's been this general view that any industries who will have a negative effect of AI or will have a lot of competition from their competitors who do utilize AI are being sold off or being hit. So if you have an industry that the stock market thinks will have a negative effect by AI, or AI will intrude upon its profits or cannot be utilized, those stocks are being hit and being sold off.
Yeah.
I don't know how they determine that. If they have a steel mill that uses AI and a steel mill that doesn't use AI to kind of manufacture an example, if you've got an older steel mill and it hasn't been able to use AI technology in any way, and you've got one that is a new one that does utilize AI in some way, the one that doesn't use AI will be sold off.
Yeah. The other one, the other one, of course, is that there's a lot of companies out there that are experimenting with AI. I would also think that there's also companies that actually are stock market, that are looking at how they can use AI to manipulate or take advantage, not manipulate, but take great advantage of the stock market. So the AI tool turns around and says buy or sell.
It says anyway. It says U.S. stocks slumped Monday because of the tariffs, but I don't think we have to look at the long term there. So just because they slumped a couple of days doesn't mean much at all. But because of the new tariffs, while investors continue to punish companies that could be losers in the artificial intelligence revolution. So those companies that cannot use artificial intelligence or haven't employed it well enough up to this point, the stock market is looking at them and saying, okay, they're not going to be as sustainable going forward.
Yeah.
So those companies are being attacked. Now I don't know how they determine which companies are losers in artificial intelligence revolution. I don't know how they determine that.
Yeah, don't know.
But somehow the stock market has decided which companies are AI benefited or those who are AI not benefited, and going after and dumping those that they believe will not have a positive response to AI.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you put on this article last week about, earlier in the week, about new dinosaur species discovered in the Sahara Desert, which is an offshoot of a Spinosaurus.
Yeah. I was kind of going to wait for Monday for that one because it's Science Friday kind of thing. But if you want to talk about it now, we can. It's kind of an interest article, basically.
Well, we've been quite serious today, and there's still a lot of serious articles to go through, which will almost fill up tomorrow. I thought this would be a relaxing way out, so to speak.
Okay. Well, there's a dinosaur called the Spinosaurus.
Yeah.
And it has quite a history. For years and years, they a German paleontologist, archaeopaleontologist or whatever, discovered the bones of a Spinosaurus many years ago. You had the bones in Berlin. Berlin got blown to bits during the war, and the Spinosaurus was gone. And all that was left was the claws of the Spinosaurus, and people have forgotten what the Spinosaurus looked like. So this is a very unique dinosaur. And it took years and years and years before they could find it again. Now, the unique thing about the Spinosaurus is it has the largest claws of any dinosaur or any animal they've ever seen. The claws of the Spinosaurus are incredible. So, of course, the imagination was this enormous dinosaur, like much bigger than T-Rex because of the claws on it. But it turns out that it is a rather big dinosaur that lived, but was into fishing. It ate a lot of fish, so they can tell. And they found the Spinosaurus, the newest examples of Spinosaurus, in the Moroccan desert, which is in and around the place where the original. What?
The other thing about it is, of course, it has a huge fin, almost fin-like feature on the back, because it has massive bones that protrude up from the spine out to the back. That almost certainly, the way we would look at it is a fin is type like a fin, but it's an amphibious creature because it wasn't really in the water per se. It's more a land creature than a water creature.
It's a combination of them. If you want to look at kind of like a crocodile is in the land and out of the land, you can think of a bunch of different creatures that take the sustainability out of the water but live on land. Obviously, the thing would be laying its eggs on land. And what is significant about this particular Spinosaurus, that this is the first Spinosaurid identified in more than 100 years. Now, that may not sound exciting to the average person out there, but to the people who follow dinosaurs, that's very exciting. So the discovery was made by an international team of scientists led by the University of Chicago in the United States. The new fossil area was discovered in the northern Niger in Western Africa, around 625 miles. So the other ones were found in the desert of Morocco. So it's very much in that sort of the Sahara Desert area now. And now that area, of course, used to be a shallow sea and watered area, of course. And they believe that the Spinosaurus has got a long snout, kind of like a alligator snout, and has very sharp teeth. And they believe that this was it had no problem. It says here explained that the new species had no problem wading on its sturdy legs into 2 meters of water. However, it probably spent most of the time stalking in shallower traps for many larger fish of the day.
Yeah.
So basically, it was a fish eating. You probably eat anything that it could get that was close to the water. It was in that huge fan that you said. It had a huge fan on itself, so it had this huge spiny fan on its back. Now, those things had with dinosaurs. Sometimes it's a display. Sometimes it's a display, a sexual display, or something like that. But most of the time, it's a duplicated purpose. And with dinosaurs being cold-blooded animals, that fan that they have on their back was to balance their body temperature.
Yeah.
So the fan could be put up to collect heat, and it also could be there to radiate too much heat.
So what I'm not sure about this is
creature.
Yeah, what I'm not sure about this is to what extent, if at all, that spine is actually collapsible. Does it fold down when the creature doesn't need it? Because what you're talking about there is very much of, well, I can put the fan up in the cold to actually vent body heat, or I can put the fan up in the heat to actually gain body heat.
I think most of it's pretty hard to describe this when we're talking on a radio show and
I know.
a photograph. I could kind of there's a photograph of it there. Oh darn it! I hit the wrong button. Of course,
You hit the wrong button.
Well, I just turned my phone and my hand touched it. So darn it! Here we go. So there is the Spinosaurus. Now, for anybody that has a mild interest in dinosaurs, you will know that the Spinosaurus has been very much spoken about for many years. It's been speculated, and because the original specimen that the German and I wish I could remember his name was destroyed during the war, there's been a lot of speculation about it ever there since. Well, when they found another one in the Moroccan desert, that kind of solved a lot of the mysteries around the Spinosaurus. Why did it have such huge claws? Obviously, it was meant to catch fish. Now, we think of something like an alligator who will eat a lot of fish. Alligators and crocodiles will eat a lot of fish, probably more than anything else. They'll eat anything. They're opportunists. But you see, they don't have really long claws, but they do have that long snout. So there's lots about Spinosaurus that they haven't really figured out. Why? It's a very sturdy, powerful dinosaur with long, super long claws and that long snout. And they are assuming that by the evidence they have that it was a fishing type of dinosaur that relied upon fishing at the edge of the shallow seas and waters and so on. That, of course, probably isn't too much interest to anyone here, particularly when they don't have a photograph or see a picture of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is mainly anyone out there that has sort of a curiosity about science, and just about every kid in the world loves dinosaurs because they're so cool and interesting. And my inner kid will not give that up. And so when my son sent me that, he knows my curiosity about dinosaurs, and I put that in my own three boys. But you'll find that in little girls too. They love dinosaurs. That's a great introduction to science for any kid. If you want to get your kid introduced to science, begin with dinosaurs, because dinosaurs were a thing that don't exist anymore, but did. And they were fantastic looking things, and it inspires the imagination of kids. And you can utilize that, exploit that interest, and have them become more interested in science, which always expands their mind.
Yeah. Well, let's see. See if I can actually load this up right now, and see whether it'll actually open up invalid file type. Doesn't like my file type. I actually took a picture of the actual one. Depends on the weather. There is a weak stocks crash. I've seen Bigfoot, Dave. And Ricky says, "Are you talking about Trump, Dave?"
That's a different kind of dinosaur. That's a Dumosaurus.
Save as JPG, I guess.
So anyway, it's just to conclude, we're near the end of our show here, and I had to think about dinosaurs because, it's just kind of interesting to talk about a variety of different things. It's always great to expand one's mind. And if you're looking for kind of like just something to sort of become interested in, dinosaurs are one. There you go. There's a Spinosaurus right there.
Yeah.
Now, this is a particular Spinosaurus, not the same as the other Spinosaurids, but it's a variety, just like there are different varieties of T-Rexes. Like the Albertosaurus is a smaller variety of T-Rex, same family and everything. And this Spinosaurid is unique to the other Spinosaurids, but still a Spinosaurid.
Yeah.
And the main thing about Spinosaurus is their huge claws. They have the biggest claws, I think, of any land animal that's ever been out there. Incredibly big claws. I'm not so sure they know
But I think we can answer. We can answer this question, Rick. No, we were not talking about Donald Trump. You know, maybe he is part of a lot of things we talk about here on Talking Niagara, but not on this occasion, sir.
Well, we sometimes talk about Neanderthal Trump, but
right.
Well, I could say that my buddy Donald can be a bit of a dinosaur at times. I'm not so sure. He's a very unique species of creature. I'm not so sure he has elements of dinosaurs. That means he's got a really small brain, but and he has huge ego. That's another thing. But
yeah.
Anyway, but as I said earlier, if you're interested in conservative commentary, I was very pleased by what I got out of NPR the other day, which was more of an objective. It was a pro-Trump view, but more not a rah thing. It was more sort of analytical about what Trump has done and hasn't done that may be beneficial to the United States. And this was from a Republican point of view. And like I said, it wasn't like screaming or anything like that. It was just analytical.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciated that from NPR. And I know that they've been trying very hard to see the conservative point of view in things. For a very long time, they became too much of a social justice warrior type of news agency. But I'm very pleased that they're more balanced now. And I like to rely on balanced points of view, even with a guy like Trump, who I disagree with most of the time. Anyway, I will bring up Gaza for our day is concluded here, we'll bring Gaza up again. We find that, like I said before, there's a very interesting interview with Tucker Carlson on Huckabee. That's another guy that really is curious to me. He's decided to become more and more of a real journalist and look into really difficult subjects, like the elephant in the room type subjects. And I kind of really appreciate that. He's taken his fame as pretty much a right-wing influencer out of Fox, belly aching rubbish, basically. But he's turned that into a person that will talk about the difficult things there, about things that the mainstream media will not talk about, and of which is like AIPAC's influence over like you will not get that from mainstream media, no matter if it's left or right. They won't talk about AIPAC. They will not talk about Gaza. They will not talk about Israel's influence in the United States. They won't talk about any of those kind of things. But guys like Tucker Carlson are now, and they're coming from the right, which is very, very curious to me. But I do appreciate it. And if anyone wants to kind of get an eye opener of what's going on, you've got this Huckabee guy as the U.S. Person in charge of U.S. Representing the U.S., who is a Christian Zionist and is 100% on the side of the Israeli side of the issue, which the Arabs are all looking at. Here we go again. We don't get a balanced view anyway. And I do fear for the Gazans, because this guy is willing to believe dismiss or minimize the kind of crimes that Israel has committed in Gaza, and is very dismissive or wants to minimize the thousands of children lost. Like he'll say, "Oh, sure, thousands lost, but maybe not as many thousands as Hamas said." Oh yeah, I'm sure thousands of children died, but the IDF did much better than we did in Fallujah. So oh God, it's just unbelievable.
But anyway, again, the IDF and Palestinian Authority are agreeing more or less on figures. Yeah,
so the IDF's numbers were where it was 75,000 by most figures, the Israelis came up with 68,000. And they haven't really concluded and finished yet because I don't know. If you're asking me, until they put foreign journalists, allow the BBC, even CNN, who will see things the way that they want to do, but CNN, CBC, BBC, Al Jazeera, all of the news agencies around the world, DW, France, whatever, 24, until they get in there and look at with objective of journalist eyes, we will never be able to believe what the IDF in Israel says, because they're manipulating everything to their advantage. And then you got an imbecile like Huckabee. I wouldn't say he's an imbecile, but he's like a weirdo, Christian Zionist, and he'll only see things one way. So the poor Gazans, the poor Palestinians, don't really have much representation until foreign journalists get in there, and Israel will resist that all the way. Anyway, without further ado, I bid you pray for peace, everyone.
And have a great day, everybody.